Like, listen, I think the heel run sucked, blah, blah, blah. But to end it like this, randomly before SummerSlam, was just questionable, if not.
Low-key, they retconned John Cena's heel turn, bro. Like, it was pretty much the what-if scenario played in real time. Like, what if we pulled the trigger and finally turned John Cena heel? Hey, yo, what's happening, people? It's your boy Blaze here. Back to with another one here for Venomous Reactions. And today we got courtesy of Wrestlers Premiere. We got Summerslam match and builds that nobody asked for. And you know when you got a match and a build-up towards a match that nobody wanted? And in some occasions, normally the build will be weak, but the match delivers on all scales. And vice versa. So we're going to take a trip down SummerSlam memory lane and check out some of these builds that nobody asked for and also matches. So without further ado, let's run it.
The Undertaker was banished and died after the 1994 Royal Rumble. In turn, he missed WrestleMania 10, which was a glaring omission from the show. But his return was coming soon. Undertaker was seen around, but nobody could actually get a word with him or learn about his intentions. Then the $1 Million Man who brought the Undertaker to the World Wrestling Federation claimed he was here. Turns out, it was an imposter and Paul Bear exposed the facade. Fake Undertaker was motivated by greed, and this led to some detective work from Leslie Niels.
Doppelganger Undertaker.
New generation era storyline. It's silly and for kids, obviously, but then the match was absolutely horrible. One shining light on this build is that it brought out that mid-90s Undertaker, faster in ring, better, and on top of it, his entrance was coming together perfectly to represent the Undertaker we all know. All in all, when you look at this build, it's like, this is some freaking little kid stuff. But then again, who the hell was WWF's audience in 1994 for the most part? When Diesel won the WWF Championship in late 1994, it seemed as if the company found their next big star to push. While Diesel was cool and charismatic, that would quickly be toned down. The Diesel of 1994 is not the same as 1995. 1995 is more of a super good guy without any of the attributes that brought Kevin Nash to this point. His title reign was pretty long and full of opponents. For SummerSlam, he was placed in a huge money match. Money match if you're Vince McMahon sitting in his room obsessed with big, tough guys for the sake of it, without the talent.
Oh, I remember this.
A title shot at SummerSlam, and it was dire. We're not even gonna waste time on it. He was not the right person for that position, and on top of that, he was dangerous. The build was very silly with Diesel getting jumped by 5 people, having the Bulldog turn on him, and Mabel stealing the WWF Championship. There was no hope for that title.
That's insane.
When it did happen, well, they knocked it out of the park. Mabel knocked Diesel's bones out the park. That's what happened. His entire push was a strange one, and one that shouldn't have been to begin with, because
King Mabel being thrusted into the WWF title picture. It, on paper, it may seem like a good idea, but as far as like delivery wise, it's like, why? And we all know what happened with King Mabel and Diesel. He basically dropped all his weight on Diesel's lower back, and I ain't gonna hold you. That is like the most brutal spot ever. Like, imagine an almost 500-pound man dropping all his weight, all on your lower back. and Diesel, Kevin Nash, he recalled this match vividly. Like, yo, please, when you're doing this spot, please be careful. And Mabel, he was like, okay, I understand. But lo and behold, he went ahead and dropped all of 500 pounds on Diesel's lower back, and I can only imagine the back pain.
Mabel did not show the right qualities to be challenging for the title, let alone in the main event of SummerSlam. Like, I'm getting images from WWE.com, and look at this. They skip it. By the way, this is me talking right now. Look at this. Great match. One of the best ladder matches ever, of course, right?
That's a fact.
You have Undertaker and Kama. Right?
Also solid.
Look at this. They got his entrance. They're struggling to carry him. You know, it's a tragedy for them, right? Or it's a near tragedy. Then look at this. They show Diesel's entrance, right? Next picture. Boom! Where's the match? Doesn't that tell you something? Very often in the Attitude Era things with one talent, it was clear that for some reason the WWF saw something in him that was enough to push him very high. Billy Gunn. Now, I don't know what they saw in Billy Gunn. Maybe they liked his ass, seeing as he became Mr. Ass, but Billy Gunn after WrestleMania 15 experienced the significant push that if successful, he would end up feuding with the likes of Austin and Rock. Just think of all his names and then you add Billy Gunn to the mix. New boom period, right? He wins King of the Ring and immediately finds himself in a feud with The Rock. The Rock in 1999 was massive. He was on fire, but WWF wanted to save his main event push for another time, so he ended up facing what is the equivalent of plumbers. British Bulldog and Billy Gunn. Now these guys have made their
I'm
mark in the
sleep.
past, but in 1999 they were a blip in The Rock's radar. Billy Gunn was set up for failure because tell me why they thought it was a good idea for the weakest talker in DX to go one-on-one with the great one. This is 1999. Rock
Facts.
wasn't using the same catchphrases. He would make them on the fly. They would actually be funny. He wasn't forcing anything about his character. And in every segment, this guy would get destroyed. On the mic, obviously, because what's funny about that, though, is that for most of the build to SummerSlam, Billy Gunn was getting the upper hand physically. But it didn't matter because Rock was that talented. They made fun of him in every segment. They're talking about asses because the match was a kiss my ass match, because Billy Gunn was now called Mr. Ass. Athlete describes his mic skills. And it was the most one-sided build as a...
Damn. But he ain't telling no lies, though. Like, imagine Billy Gunn going up against one of the greatest on the mic, knowing The Rock. And he didn't even have to say much to cook Billy Gunn on the mic. I'm just saying. All I gotta say is, well, I'm an asshole. Oh, the back and forth on the mic. Rock just pretty much demolished Mr. Ass with that comment. pretty much describes his mic skills. That's diabolical.
List of segments. Seriously, what were they thinking here, having him face The Rock of all people? I know Billy Gunn wasn't cut out for the main event scene and all that, but if you're gonna test him with freaking Kane or something, not The Rock. And after SummerSlam, Billy Gunn was back to being a tag team. His entire push was strange and something that even when you look at it from that time period, it's confusing. The thing that Billy Gunn had about him was his height, athleticism, but he just wasn't a main eventer, and that's what it simply comes down to. Triple H was a ball hugger in the early 2000s. You would always expect him to lose a match, but he overcomes the odds, and they got pretty redundant, and it seemed that WWE partly understood this, keyword partly, because they weren't going to let Triple H get away from the title. He also recovered from a bad tear, which greatly impacted his in-ring ability. I think 2004 Triple H from an in-ring standpoint is insanely overhated. He was much better here than 2003. Now, Triple H was the top heel for Raw, but it didn't mean that he wasn't going to have some side quests away from the title. Eugene was a huge fan of the game. He even went as far as to say that Triple H was his favorite wrestler.
I remember this one vividly.
Segment. The odd thing about the Eugene character is that he got very popular. Not somewhat. This guy was getting big reactions from the crowd, would come out being like, "Hi, I'm Eugene, this and that." And Triple H wanted to use him as an asset to Evolution. This would of course mean that Triple H had to give in to some of Eugene's demands. And it was funny because Triple H was practically the evil final boss of Raw. Yeah, he's jumping in a bounty house and telling Batista and Ric Flair to take Eugene a Chuck E. Cheese. When Triple H turned on him, the feud turned personal, and honestly, it had no business going as hard as it did. It was a legitimately good build filled with intensity, hatred, heartbreak. It's probably the best build in this video, but one nobody would ask for. Like, when you look to the past, who the hell's asking for a Eugene and Triple H match at SummerSlam? So if it's the video on a literal term, but quality-wise, no, it honestly doesn't. Get William Regal cutting his best promo and finally seeing Eugene as an ally. Then the match happens, and I don't really remember much, but watch this video for my opinion. I don't even remember. It was overbooked and dramatic, but a proper way to end the feud, although if you ask some, they would have Eugene win, but that's because they hated Triple H so damn much, they would rather see a freaking fish beat the game. Rey Mysterio is
not a fish. But low key, you got to look at it like this. In real time, Triple H losing to Eugene, it wasn't happening because Triple H would wash Eugene as far as wrestling is concerned. But that's how much he was hated. And I want you to also bear in mind this was during the almighty reign of terror. So that should say something. But Triple H losing to Eugene on a big time match at SummerSlam, no. And the thing about it is, Eugene was over. He was massively over with the crowd. I mean, everybody loved him. I mean, even though he has some deficiencies and whatnot, he was still beloved. So the gimmick worked. And he was right about one thing. The build-up towards that match, it had no business going nuclear berserk the way that it did, but we did get some good moments out of it, though.
in his prime in 2006. Not as an in-ring performer, but his status in the WWE. Ray was one of the biggest stars in the entire company and struggled during a world championship reign that wasn't booked to his strengths. While the title reign did improve near the end, it was too late and it ended with a gunshot chair shot from Chavo Guerrero. Seriously, one of the most dastardly chair shots I've ever seen. Oh, was he jealous that Ray got the push? I mean, it's not his fault that freaking Rey Mysterio's way better at everything. Alright, we're doing too much. The common story during this run was Ray dedicating his matches to Eddie. Well, Chavo had a huge problem with that. Now, I don't know who in their right mind would ask for Chavo Guerrero to be in a major SummerSlam match with Rey Mysterio, but it was happening. The biggest issue with this story is that Eddie's name was dragged again for some soap opera nonsense. I said it already in a past video. Wrestling always involves soap opera drama, but it's always the worst when they're doing it. You're leeching off the Guerrero name, and every week Eddie's name was brought up to the point that Vicky Guerrero was strongly involved in this feud, which would grow after SummerSlam. But their match was solid. Sad part is that it's probably the best match up to this point in this video. Ray and Chavo always have good chemistry and bring out the best in each other, and I think their feud ranks amongst a weird position. The position of being a terrible feud with good matches. And I've said this in the past, I would take a terrible feud with good matches over a good feud with terrible matches. Kane probably never...
I could definitely understand that point, because, you know, you do have those feuds that have, like, lackluster builds, but the match, totally different story. So I can understand his point of view as far as that is concerned, because I'm pretty much the same way. Like, the feud build up, it under delivers, but when the match happens, bravissimo, and I love it.
A year in WWE without some sort of nonsense story. He has the same issues that Big Show did. For 2009, though, it was back to the Great Khali. Now, Khali was finally a face in the dynamic was different. Kane was obsessed with being a monster and evil, so that's the basis of their feud. He kidnapped Ranjin Singh, constantly had the upper hand on Khali. Then the match happened exactly as you imagined. It was a waste of time, but WWE didn't learn their lesson and extended this feud beyond SummerSlam.
They never do.
I don't think there was a single intriguing Khali story post-2008, and even then it's debatable pre-08, but you could say you want to see him stand face to face with this guy or that guy, but after some time, it's not impressive, especially because he was practically a jobber at this point. Like when Great Khali started wearing the red pants, it was over for him. This guy was to random on SmackDown despite being a former world champion. Now, if you ask somebody in early 2017 that the SummerSlam WWE Championship match would feature Shinsuke Nakamura, they'd be impressed. But if you respond to that person with the fact that his opponent is Jinder Mahal, well, you might get booted out of the room like Jazz in the Fresh Prince. Jinder's push was by far the most surprising thing of 2017, and the plan was for a long run because WWE wanted to enter the Indian market. The title match was made official after John Cena lost to Nakamura in a #1 contenders match, and it's funny that these two are fighting it out for a chance at the modern-day Maharaja. Now, this isn't a WWE Championship level match. I mean, I don't even need to say, you guys know that. But on top of that, the build-up was nothing. It was just Jinder getting his ass beat by John Cena and almost losing his title via cash-in. A cash-in that Cena ruined for Baron Corbin. The story of this match wasn't much. There wasn't a story. The story is just, I want this title, which works, but this is a SummerSlam match. It shouldn't be like that. Then the match was very boring and weak, and it was kind of hard to watch Jinder because the guy was pushed with no real build-up, not to mention that he didn't really improve in-ring. Like, his presentation was 10 out of 10. You can't name me 5 wrestlers since Jinder Mahal's WWE Championship reign that had better presentation than him as champion. But he...
Don't lie. Jinder Mahal looked the part. He did. But as far as him actually living up to the hype as being champion, that remains to be seen. I mean, people have different opinions about it, but it is what it is. We got what we got. There's nothing we can do about it. But honestly, his WWE title run, it was pretty much on the fly. Like, okay, we're going to put the belt on him and we're going to appeal to the market of India. So once we tap into that market, bing, bang, bong, we're in. And ever since he got the title, everything was pretty much on the fly. Like, there was really no strong build to it. And it really did make sense most of the time. Only the end game was to corner the Indian market. And it sucks to say that, yo, he had a more lengthy title run than Sami Zayn. Is diabolical. is diabolical when you look back on it.
It just wasn't up to par when the bell rang. Despite this match having no build, I think it was a mercy seeing as their actual feud following SummerSlam is one people would like to forget. Now, this is a build which didn't have much good hype behind it, despite it being a career-defining story for Seth Rollins. While Rollins was clearly the new #1 guy in the WWE, he wasn't up to par with what the #1 guy should be. This also involved him inheriting a dull character and becoming unlikable nearly overnight. The appeal of Seth Rollins on top was slowly dwindling, and it was becoming such a huge issue that nobody really cared about seeing him overcome the Beast. Their build to the match at SummerSlam Toronto was everything that a Seth Rollins story should be. He was dumb, used his heart over his brain, which caused him to take the equivalent of what Squidward took when it came to the Sea Bear. And the issue with this story is that it was generic, and on top of that, it was clear that they didn't care about the depth of the Seth Rollins character. I've said this time and time again. From the years of 2014 to 2021, the deepest layered character in the WWE was Seth Rollins. Well, not during this build. He got his ass kicked 3 weeks in a row and didn't figure to change his strategy. Remember?
Yep. Every chance he got packed up by the Beast incarnate to where his rib cage is pretty much jelly at this point. Like, damn, how is he still standing? How is he still moving? But lo and behold, it did give us one heck of a match with Seth Rollins and the Beast incarnate, even though he got packed up numerous times before that match.
Remember, this is the architect, yet he had no planning when it came to the toughest challenge of his career. Seth Rollins is always a guy that takes calculated risks, yet during this build, you did not see that at all. Luckily, the match was great. It's actually one of my favorite Seth Rollins matches because he turned the crowd around with a pure babyface performance.
Absolutely.
Check out this video. Probably my favorite video so far in 2026 that I made. But they managed to fix things following it. And again, this is not the worst build in the world. It's just, I feel like they departed away from the Seth Rollins character, so it deserved a mention. There was once a time after WrestleMania 37 where the WWE was mindlessly throwing anything on TV. I felt optimistic with the shows after the shows in Tampa, but then Raw the next night slapped me with a wet towel. What's funny is that it would get worse. By this point, the Thunderdome was dull, so my memory is a bit fuzzy from this time. It wasn't good. One thing that sticks out like a sore thumb was Alexa Bliss. Her character was a byproduct of Bray Wyatt's, but he was on his way out at this point. And this led to a doll being involved in her stories, helping her win matches and striking fear into the likes of Shayna Baszler. And there's this one Raw ending I remember, not for the good reasons, but when you combine this with Eva Marie in the year 2021, you get a disaster. Listen, Eva Marie can come in and get paid from the WWE. That's their business. We're not gonna lie and say that she knows anything about wrestling after the bell rings. Even wrestling is like me flying an airplane. I might touch some buttons to get something done, but it's always going to be disastrous. The build involved Eva provoking Bliss and her daughter. The build involved Eva provoking Bliss and her doll Lily. She failed to get one over Bliss even with the help of Dewdrop. Oh yeah, Dewdrop. The Dewdrop name always reminds you of Hershey Drops, which in turn reminds you of Chocolate Drop. But the build was bad. It was horrific, and there wasn't any hope for the match because at the end of the day, this was Alexa Bliss and who? Eva Marie, exactly. Then the match had
pretty much
a great candidate to be inducted to the Worst Match Hall of Fame of 2021.
Yeah. Insanely enough, I don't even remember this match. And thank goodness I don't. Because anything involving Eva Marie is going to be ass. I'm sorry to say, but it's the truth. And come on now. This is when Eva Marie came back and they added Piper Niven, who is now called Dewdrop at this point. What the hell? Why give her the name Dewdrop? And it was doomed from the start. Anything involving Eva Marie pretty much changed the channel.
We want Vince back, and this is what was booked. First of all, they didn't really show off their characters in the match. The characters they spent weeks building up for the match. Then on top of it, the action was bad, some dumb drama involving the doll, and of course, Dewdrop finally setting free from Eva Marie, which wasn't that hype, honestly, because no one really cared. There was once a point where
no one cared.
Like a big deal in the WWE. But with her return in 2022, we should have expected it to be entirely different.
Oh dear.
By the time WrestleMania 39 came around, she had clearly overstayed her welcome. Ronda was not booked well, but it was also an issue of talent. She wasn't interested in being anything other than the ass kicker she was. Keyword was. But there was no reason to justify her being at the top. Oh, shoe skills. Yeah, look, can she cut a promo and actually wrestle a match? Or have good performances? Like a Ronda Rousey promos, her coming out with a monotone voice. It's just like monotone, there's no passion behind it. And I know she's a killer, she's a destroyer, but it felt like there was no effort coming from her to learn more and do more. What's funny is that she was more capable of that in the past, but 2023 truly was a dire year for her. A feud with Shayna Baszler should feel big just because of how closely connected both are, not to mention that it's Ronda Rousey. It seemed like they tried with this build. Both women tried, but nobody, including me, cared. I watched their match at SummerSlam Live, which was some sort of like MMA rules match or something. I don't know, but if I want MMA, I'll just go watch UFC.
Facts. And honestly, they would have done a whole lot better if they would have kickstarted this feud like years ago, before they had that match. It probably would have been a lot more intense. But I gotta admit, when Ronda came back in 2000, when she came back for a second run, yeah, she was so disinterested. It showed in her promos and her match quality. Don't debate me, it's the truth. And honestly, for two people that came from the MMA background, Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, you would have thought there would have been some kind of hype to it. And honestly, low-key, I was. But once the match started, yeah.
Freaking Bellator or something. Why should we do it in a WWE ring? It's silly. And I remember absolutely nothing about it except gazing away from the action and looking at the theatrics in front of me in the crowd. You know, there was more drama in the crowd, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, than there was in the ring at some point. And when the match did end, it was a merciful end because I couldn't take any more of it. And that was the end of Ronda Rousey in the WWE. Shayna obviously didn't benefit much because they didn't really care about
She really didn't.
On the main roster, keyword. They didn't do anything with Shayna Baszler in the past. Why would that change now after she beat 2023 Ronda Rousey? So,
okay. Her in NXT, was vastly different from her in the main roster. And we needed NXT Shayna Baszler, but they watered her down so much to where she they dropped the ball on her badly. And she should have been like women's champion at least 2 to 3 times before she left. Sad.
It wasn't much, but all in all, it was just one of those programs where it's like the idea is better. Plus, this would have felt bigger if it happened 2, 3, or even 4 years earlier, but it wasn't. At this point,
I said it.
Ronda was washed. Her mind wasn't even in the business anymore, and it resulted in whatever this match was. It's very hard to blow a huge story like John Cena's heel turn, but that's the universe we live in, and with the WWE obsessed with making the most money out of his
Here we go.
by effectively forcing him to be the same John Cena. No new shirt styles, not much different, except he was deliberately worse in ring, which was probably one of the worst things I've seen recently. If you're like, why? Well, John Cena for a moment had us believing he was washed and that it was all over. Why? Because he wanted to wrestle like the traditional heel. Issue is, it's 2026, or in that case, 2025, so obviously he needs to get with the times. John Cena's run was a full-on failure, and one that I personally believe WWE doesn't get enough flack for. Tell me why this guy who's on limited dates, why is he wasting time doing nonsense and having a heel run that was just about dragging time? Oh, he's gonna do a Logan Paul tag match. Oh, this R-Truth story that's going absolutely nowhere. And WWE was raking in money thinking, oh, this is amazing and all that, without even realizing that at the end of the day, John Cena was leaving and the money that they made during this run was not gonna be repeated the following year. With this heel...
It would have been a whole lot better if they would have just gave John Cena the amount of days that he wanted. It would have made his farewell tour mean so much more. But no, they only gave him a handful of dates and only to book him in the most mediocre scenarios ever. I mean, thank goodness we got the John Cena farewell tour, but it could have been a whole lot better, in my view.
They just did it and dragged it until SummerSlam, and it's like, oh, let's change it up. They made no effort in establishing new talent, and as you see with Gunther right now, nothing's of note has happened with him. They've done this retirement thing, nothing's come out of it. Same thing with the John Cena heel turn. Well, the build to John Cena and Cody Rhodes was odd. Cena refuses to face him because he's a typical heel. Cody forces him, and when they did confront each other for the match, John Cena just turned face. He acknowledged his wrongdoings in the couch, scared to go all in and give this heel run a proper ending. Like, listen, I think the heel run sucked, blah, blah, blah. But to end it like this, randomly before SummerSlam, was just questionable, if not.
Low-key, they retconned John Cena's heel turn, bro. Like, it was pretty much the what-if scenario played in real time. Like, what if we pulled the trigger and finally turned John Cena heel? Even though this is like his final run in the company, what would happen? And lo and behold, it didn't turn out the way that they wanted, so they decided to retcon the whole heel turn in its entirety. Like, it happened in an alternate universe or something. Yo, it was wild, but it left us confused, but you know what? It low-key rectified in the end. And we got the John Cena we all loved and respect. But still.
Stupid. They took a cheap shortcut because they were too scared to see out the story that they themselves built up. Oh, you're not supposed to hate it yet. Let it play out. We let it play out and it turns out it's absolutely trash. There's some good moments in it, but it's not something we could talk about positively. It's one of the greatest admittance of failure from the WWE I've ever seen on their shows. To have John Cena retcon this heel turn right before SummerSlam. Oh, I was wrong, this and that. They didn't even build up to the moment. To have a massive heel turn like John Cena's end with a singular promo instead of a proper build and moment to tie up. Horrible. It was so strange, but then again, who knows what WWE would have did if they had to end the run properly. They would have shot themselves again, so as bad as this ending was,
they would have.
It was for the best. Cena and Rhodes ended up having one of the best WWE matches of 2025, and one that absolutely clears the WrestleMania match. But then again, pissing in the middle of the ring is enough to overtake that match. Alright, what you guys think of these SummerSlam builds? Please comment down below and that's for this video. Make sure you
Yo, I gotta be honest, their SummerSlam match, that was pretty much their apology to the fans that watched WrestleMania. Pretty much them saying, oh, we sorry we didn't give you the match that you wanted and deserved. So this is us making up to y'all. And lo and behold, they made up to us in the big way, because their SummerSlam match, much better than their WrestleMania encounter. I don't even want to go into that, but these matches and builds, it leaves you scratching your head. Even in some cases, it leave you having the Scooby-Doo look on your face, like, huh? Like, what the hell? But the match itself, prior to build, delivers on a different and satisfying scale. You know what? I love it. But I want y'all opinion on this. Which one was the worst build but had a fire match? Let me know down in the comment section down below. And as always, thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this one. And don't forget to tell your peoples across the globe. So kicking with your boys is one solid time. And please follow your boy on social media right over yonder. And please do show support for wrestling's premiere. Yo, love the video. Love the video, and you earned a sub from your boy. And anyways, this is your boy Blaze here saying Chunk the Deuce, and I will see y'all in the next video, and I am out.